moving away from retail technology and how it's experienced us. With the growing world, we've stepped in and embarked into the new age of technology, and it's now, we've had the nuclear arms race, we've had the big space race, but now we have the chatbot AI race, and we have seen. I don't know if you guys have had much experience with the Google, I don't know if you've got. I haven't even tried the Google one myself. I've just heard reviews, but I have used OpenAI's GPT. That's the one. Yeah. I always get the acronym. I don't even know what it stands for, but I've been using it, and for my job as a developer, it's been a really, really useful tool to help me debug code that I'm missing things on, instead of spending hours strolling through Google and looking for Stack Overflow, answers. So, have you guys had a chance to have a play with any of these, and what do you know about them? Because I'd like to talk a little bit about these.
I haven't.
No?
I haven't.
Okay, so a bit of context. So, I think OpenAI was one of the first ones to do it. I think Microsoft is, with their Bing platform, have their own version of the AI, and they're using it. And then Google then rushed to bring out their one, which is BARD. And there was a video I watched the other day, and it was sort of a contrast between how those announcements, like how Apple does the big announcements when the phones come out and stuff like that. So it was sort of like that. And Microsoft they killed it. They had so much going for it. Their demonstrations were fantastic, and it just seemed like there was a fully formed AI. And this thing is really useful. Like, you can ask it anything, really. It's not going to be perfect, and there are some areas of things like, if you ask it political questions, it'll be political bias potentially through what it's learned or what kind of information it has access to. But for general problem solving, it's been really useful. I saw a video on YouTube of a guy who asked it to create a lesson plan for him for his class, and he gave it some context. And the great thing about it is if it gets something wrong, you can tell it where you think it's wrong, and it will recheck itself and verify, this is quite wrong, thank you for... And it has a conversation with you. It remembers the previous conversation. So I could ask it to generate a piece of code for me, because I've got this problem. How would this code look? And then I could give it more specifics. I could feed it more information, and it would update that code based on that information and then give that back to me. It's basically doing my job for me. That's terrifying. But as a debugger, if I don't understand some of the errors that I get when I'm doing my code, because anyone who's not a programmer won't know this, but when you code, you get something called a console, and the console tells you this error, syntax error, this is missing, or this is thing on this line, blah, blah, blah. But sometimes it gets so convoluted and you can't really understand the errors sometimes. And you have to research the errors. But when you start Googling things, unless it's specific, it's very hard to actually find a real solution. This thing knows, and it tells you, and it can give you an example of... You could give it the code that's given the error, and it will fix it for you.
Wow.
That's already removing my job, almost half of my job.
Yeah.
But... it's doing something quicker than... I'm spending less time Googling things, because if I do have things I just don't understand, has helped me solve those things. And equally, in things I haven't learned yet, I've learned quite a few things in my career faster in the last few months working with it, because it's really good at explaining why things are used in the way they're used. And it's overall made me understand something, and it's explained it to me in a way that I understand. Whereas when I try and learn from someone else or another programmer, they explain it in a way that they understand completely, but the language isn't necessarily always there. And I'm not I've been doing this job a very long time, so there is a level of language that's used by developers that isn't always transferable to everyone who's still trying to learn new things. So this, however, has really broken down these things and explained them to me, and as a result, I've learnt a bit more back-end engineering, which is massive for me, because that's definitely along the lines of the career that I want to go down. And it's kind of assisted me to learn something quicker. I can now do it independently because I understand the context of what that code means. And that's just for code. For other things, like I said, someone's used use it to create lesson plans. You can write stories and synopsis for it. A friend of mine who illustrates a comic, he decided to play with it and he got it to write a really, really clever synopsis. He gave it all the information about his story and said to write a synopsis on it, and it wrote a really, in 500 words or less, you could ask it and it will try, it will do it.
Wow.
And even like down to translations, like translating into another language, it's where Google fails with certain translations. This one seems to be a lot more intelligent, a little more accurate with its translations and understanding.
Yeah.
There's so many things benefit to it. But with regards to like Google's competition with Microsoft, I think if Microsoft are using the chat, is it GPT? ChatGPT?
GPT, yeah.
Yeah, GPT. I think Microsoft are using ChatGPT's technology or their own rendition of it. With where it's at now, I don't know if Google can catch up, and their demonstration was really bad. I know that doesn't mean I know that doesn't mean like their technology is not going to work, but there is an entire website dedicated to failed Google projects.
Oh wow.
I'll try and find the name of it in a minute, but they didn't even have a demonstration phone on the thing. Like, they were supposed to have a demonstration phone, and then when the woman who was presenting said, "Where's the phone?" "Oh, we don't have one." Very embarrassing in front of an audience. It was really bad. It was really bad.
That's embarrassing.
But yeah, I mean, if you, Raj, so I know you haven't. Have you had a chance to research it?
So there's an interesting case that I wanted to bring up as you were talking. I think that coding is definitely where there's a lot of value in terms of being able to sort of collaborate with it in actually creating pieces of code and sort of helping each other in a way to sort of improve upon it and try and find the sort of right kind of code for your problem. But one of the kind of interesting issues that's brought up is when it comes to teaching resources, and specifically if you set students' essays, are they just use ChatGPT?
That's quite controversial, to write essays for you.
Yeah. Sorry, Eggs looks very shocked right now. Are you okay?
See, sorry. This is no. I was just looking on my phone. Just going back to Instagram, listening in. Why is it that when I've just gone into my Facebook, the first image that comes up is Gusto?
You see? You see?
This is spooky, but
it's not spooky. It's literally
how it is.
That's literally
that's
Facebook for you.
Earth?
So WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook, Messenger.
Oh my god!
Oculus, if you've got an Oculus.
Also, don't check Instagram whilst I'm speaking.
God, no, this is so
They'll know where we are, Egerton.
I'm gonna cut off my microphone access now. No more.
Yeah, you're very right though, Roger.
No, I was so that was one of the kind of concerns was about students using ChatGPT to write essays for them. One of the things that it seems to do is that it seems to get sort of if you ask it, for example, so in my case, like psychology assignments, ask them to write an essay about past research on a particular area, and you get.
I've got it up now. Let's ask it.
I mean, you can ask it, and one of the things that we've kind of seen is that you tend to get very sort of surface level kinds of, it might kind of give you sort of relevant papers and relevant.
Give me an example. I'll ask it right now.
Okay. Ask for like.
I'm gonna do a 500-word essay.
500-word essay on the psychology of emotion research, for example.
Oh God.
Let's have a look.
So I've asked it, write me a 500-word essay on psychology of emotion. The psychology of emotion is a fascinating field that seeks to understand how emotions influence behavior, thoughts, and social interactions. Emotions are an integral part of our lives and are essential for our survival and well-being. They help us navigate the world around us and respond to various stimuli in appropriate ways. The study of emotions began at earnest in the late 19th century with the pioneering work of William James and Carl Lang, who proposed that psychological changes in the body precede the experience of emotions. This theory, known as the James-Lang theory, suggests that emotions are a result of bodily changes in response to environmental stimuli. For example, if you encounter a dangerous situation, your heart rate may increase and you will feel scared or anxious, and it does go on. But right there, like this is... But the thing is, like, if you think, okay, is this, an extract from something, it's written by the AI. So it's actually not plagiarizing. You can ask it to reword the exact same essay a different way, and it'll do it. You can add to it. Like, you could say in this particular part, so I'm going to let it finish. It's still going, Jesus.
I was going to say...
is this 500 words?
It looks like
I was going to say, the people that are at university, please do not try this for... turn it in.
Well, the thing is, I've read that ChatGPT has also passed several exams with flying colours. They've tested it with actual exams.
Yeah,
like and it's passed.
So
this is the first thing that can get 100% theory test.
But can I be honest? Like I'm looking at that and I'm thinking that probably wouldn't get high marks.
No, it wouldn't get high marks. But if you were to, but this is the thing. Like, this is base level. But if you know your shit, excuse my French, but again, if you know your stuff, are we allowed to swear in this podcast?
I don't know. What's a policy?
What is
probably not.
Okay, so Egerton will mute me every time I say swear, so I apologise. But so yeah, the thing is, you can refine this, right? So if you find that there's nothing quite right about something, or you have a certain area of knowledge that you want it to elaborate on, you could say in this paragraph, can you elaborate on X, Y, Z?
Yeah.
And it will rewrite that paragraph, or rewrite the whole thing with the paragraph amended with the specifics of that. So it could get to a point where it is a bit more refined and it depends how much you give it, right? And I think
So in that specific example, and I guess in general, ChatGPT, what it's doing is it's basically calculating sort of probabilistically what's the most likely next word as it's generating sort of a passage, for example. And in that case, where it's talking about sort of Lang theory of emotion, that is a thing. But when we've tried actually in the past, it's generated, say, references for past papers in a particular field of research. Yeah. And then we say, this paper doesn't exist. Is there like a mistake here? And it says, oh, sorry, there's a mistake. And it amends it to say, actually, it's this paper. And actually, those papers don't exist.
Oh, so where is it?
So I guess like...
So it's making it up?
So it makes up papers sometimes for like, when it's cited these. In this case, I think the James Lang one makes sense because that's like quite popular.
Yeah.
But I think if it starts, as you maybe read into some of the other ones, it might start just making up things like papers.
I'm just thinking, so you could do that. Submit as a paper, and then when it goes to get checked, it's just like this doesn't exist.
I will be working on a very interesting project, which I can't tell you in this podcast, but it is with potentially a very interesting project, and it's regarding things like thesis and documents. I don't know if you've ever come across, some universities, they'll have like a repository of like essays and case studies and stuff.
Yeah.
So we'll be working with a university building something like that, which is a really, really exciting project.
Yeah.
And that's again, but obviously like research is continuously growing. So who's to say that there isn't something that this can see that we can't necessarily find ourselves, or has it been searched that does this exist?
We've tried.
It's 100% bullshit.
Yeah. We've tried looking into the papers to see like, it cites a paper and it cites a particular source, and we try looking into the source and it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So
could it have existed?
I mean, maybe, but it's just like it doesn't have an awareness of kind of sources.
But it's got the information from somewhere, right?
No, it's just computing like words based on how likely they are to occur, right? Like they're just saying like what's the most likely next word based on its input that it gets. From
I guess this is where it works and where it doesn't work. For me, the stuff that I've tried with code, I guess because the programming languages are quite straightforward in how they work.
I think it's also because most code is ripped off from Stack Overflow. Like everyone's just copying. Everyone's copying what they see from Stack Overflow. So it's like everyone's code is kind of the same.
I think down to the crux of it, every programming language is based off another programming language.
Yeah.
Recently, a friend of mine had a problem. They were doing it. They were like a Mario type game, and they came to myself and my manager, who's a friend of mine, who. I do JavaScript and React JS and stuff like that, and he's got way more experience with other things like C++, C#, PHP, solid backend languages, as well as JavaScript and whatnot. And she came with a problem in C. And the first question we both said is, why are you learning C? You are literally learning the base language after binary. that every other programming language is based off of, which is infinitely, in my opinion, more complicated than most other languages, because most other languages have evolved the way they've evolved because they're people want to write programming in a more readable way.
Absolutely.
And then you get to older languages like C, they're not as readable.
And C's hard to write well. I mean, a lot of vulnerabilities in OSs are based on bad C code.
Oh,
that's it.
100%.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, I mean, I haven't got I've been diving into the world of ChatGPT, and I've been seeing on the surface of what, I haven't used BARD and I haven't used Microsoft's iteration of ChatGPT. I am on the waiting list to try Bing's one. I am interested in trying it out, see how it improves our web browsing experience. I mean, a lot of things as well as they mentioned about, especially with Bing anyway, they mentioned that, when you do a search and you're using ChatGPT or their version of it, that it will provide you a summary or an example of a response into your question. So you could ask it, about, I don't know, the first president, George Washington, and it will give like a little essay about George Washington, that's tailored written to you more or less. At what point does that replace what people are creating blogs for, which are very specific places where you go for information? Because this is kind of taking that information and giving it to you in the forefront, because it's been more accurate, because it's knowing what your question is, and it's giving you the answer in written English. You don't really need to visit the links unless you're specifically looking for something. But if it's information, you Google, how is blah, 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 blah. It's going to give you information about blah, 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 blah. You don't need to find a blog about blah, 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 blah. So what does that do for people?
Sorry, I don't understand.
Oh, come on, really? Really?
Wait, haven't we had this interruption before?
Ladies and gentlemen, we have been interrupted by Google. It is a Google.
Yeah, it's a
Google.
How appropriate.
See, it knows that because I've been dissing Google's, BARD. It's probably listening and going, damn you. It's alright. It's the same if you have an Amazon Alexa in your house, of which I do, and I probably shouldn't. But yeah,
I think it's kind of like, if you think about there being two types of knowledge, sort of declarative and procedural knowledge. Declarative being sort of facts and just sort of very like matter-of-fact information, versus procedural, which is more how things work and pros and cons of things, more about the sort of the analysis of information. And I think that sort of the former is like pretty much going to be like very easy to get at the click of your fingers using something like ChatGPT. It's where you start to think about, okay, like if you evaluate, say, the criticisms of if you want to write a political essay or something like
those were about political bias based on the information.
Yeah, so something that's more analytical, then that's where I think you start to see the limitations.
But we're on the surface. This is the very beginning, really. And this is, a few months ago, there was the artist community was complaining about, AI generated artwork.
Yes.
Which...
Have you seen there's started to be like music videos of AI art? So like Linkin Park's new... music videos, completely AI art generated.
You're joking? Wow.
Yeah, I recommend checking it out. It's quite something.
I'll have a look while we're talking.
Yes, I mean obviously that's kind of a whole thing as well, and it's kind of interesting because I look at a lot of like the kind of AI art, and it kind of feels like it has its own style, like it has its own identity. Which I don't know if it makes it kind of indistinguishable from human art, but certainly in terms of the effort of that's in it and the amount of detail that's in it, that it's able to be generated, and it saves on a lot of human labor and time in terms of actually creating that by hand. It's kind of incredible.
This is done by AI.
I think so. Yes. Yeah, if you can see it.
That's insane. I mean, I've seen this very similar technique. The guys at Corridor Digital did into the Spideyverse video where they had used AI generated CG to basically do this, and this is incredible.
But I guess
it's very artistic, and they've obviously gone for the whole
Very.
anime look thing, so you can see where it's kind of fluky. But you unless you're told this is AI generated, you think, oh, it's just a really weird artistic creative decision.
I think
that
once you
they've
see
gone
it,
down.
you kind of can tell that it's AI generated.
Yeah.
Like the way
the
that
inconsistency in the artwork as well.
yeah, the way that in each frame it does sort of change around a lot. There's a lot
Yeah.
of kind of, I don't know if flickering is the way to describe it, but you can sort of see it. There's another example I can show you a bit later as well.
That's really cool.
But yeah.
No, that's I didn't know about this, but I'm definitely going to look into it a lot more. I'd like to see, but yeah, I was gonna say like the thing about AI generated art specifically is the one thing that I noticed is it doesn't get fingers right.
Oh, does it not?
Oh no, like it just gets the number of fingers. So if you look at how it does
Oh,
hands,
yeah, okay.
then there's actually a few memes have been about it, but basically it always got like maybe 7 fingers.
What the hell?
All the really weird fused deformed
Yeah.
fingers and
no.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it seems to struggle with your digits, but really, really succeeds when it comes to things like faces and hair and things like that, but can't do toes and fingers for some reason. It's interesting. You think that would be probably more the simple thing, but as if you think about art, a lot of artists who are new to illustration specifically struggle to draw hands, and the human hands are very actually quite an amazing thing when you really think about it, because not all of them are the same, but they all have the same sort of, well, they all have the same things going on in them, but they're all very different, and that sense of realism as well. So I can see how AI can struggle to get that right.
But also, AI isn't thinking about rules. It's not thinking about, okay, all
it's-
humans have
yeah.
5 fingers. It's thinking, oh, why can't we have 7 fingers on a hand, you know?
It doesn't know that unless you say 4 fingers, 1 thumb. Then it could go, oh yeah, there's 1. But what's the difference between a finger and a thumb? How does it differentiate that?
It's like, why can't we have 10 fingers on a hand?
Well,
why
yeah.
not?
If children, some children can't, like, children can't differentiate between certain things. So I think this is where again, AI is at its infancy. To modern AI, but we are so close, I think, to that pivot in our technological advancement where the next the next revolution of technology is going to happen, and they reckon it's going to happen within the next 10 years, where it's going to absolutely accelerate. So just like when we were young, we had mobile phones were a thing, this block thing, not very common. And then it just took that one ignition to happen, and then now everyone has phones. And not only do your phones take calls, they can combine as pager. But not only that, now you can watch things on the internet on them. Not only that, you can watch full seasons of things on them. But not only that, they're basically a computer now. You know, like, and that's just crazy. That's in the last 20 years. That's in our lifetime. We literally, all 3 of us, at one point in time, knew what VHS was. Floppy disks, modem, dial-up.
Oh, dial-up.
Right?
There are people listening to this going, what are these words are these saying?
Oh, dial-up.
These are relics of, like, the former age. But that was just... And then we hit somewhere between... Well, me and Egerton hit 10 to 11 years old. You hit 7. And then it just exploded. And now, I mean, my job is centered around technology, but the way information is, accessed now, I remember going to the library. I don't think my sister's ever been in one.
Wow.
She hasn't had to.
She's never heard the dial-up noise.
No. Well, she probably has with me, because I probably have showed her. Do you know what this is? Yeah. But... that is an incredible impression. That was really good.
He's been practicing, hasn't he?
Egerton has been like, I've been practicing this for my whole life.
This is what I've been born
This is
to
now
do.
my time.
It was the worst thing ever. And then when somebody's calling you, it cuts off.
Yeah. And just for those at home, this is what dial-up sounds like.
Oh.
Of course, if I unmute my laptop.
Yeah, of course.
It was always
I love that one.
Yeah.
And I was like, your connection's there.
Those are the days.
But the question is, it's exactly the same everywhere. It's exactly the same tone. What is going on to make those sounds?
It's always the same.
Well, maybe,
I need to look into this.
okay, yeah, let's do an episode on just the dial-up.
We should do that. The next episode is dial-up.
That'd be good.
But I must
Let's do
admit,
it.
though, there is places abroad that are still using dial-up. Like, where did I go to?
Lagos.
No. no, they've got broadband now.
Lagos is probably, you know.
No, they've got broadband now.
Okay.
No, it's when I went to America.
What? America? What?
Yeah,
Okay.
no, because a lot of places they do not have broadband, especially ticket machines. As well, so a lot of the ticket machines
I mean,
all using dial-up.
technological inequality is definitely a thing. For
Yeah.
sure. I mean, it does. You know, internationally, you can look at there are certain places just don't have the same infrastructure as other places.
Yeah,
And so they kind
and
of,
this is in New York City as well.
wait,
And it's
what?
using dial-up.
This is in New York City.
I suppose they don't. But the thing is, though, like if something's worked for decades, why are you going to?
Why is it changing it? Yeah, but you
It's
know.
not causing them any problem. And to be fair, the issues with dial-up generally was, at least for me anyway, and read it again, it was I can't use the telephone while you're on the internet.
That's the worst
Well, of course,
thing,
that's a ticket machine that needs to produce tickets, so it doesn't need anybody. Yeah, so
No one's on the phone.
No one's on the
Talking
phone.
to their gran. You know.
Exactly. But yeah, no, I noticed that when I last went to New York, that
They were using dial-up.
they were using
Wow.
dial-up.
I didn't expect that.
It is
Yeah.
very strange.
I don't
You
think
can
I've
hear
seen anything.
you can
use
hear it in the
dial-up over here.
background. You can hear the thing in the background. going on.
Really?
Yeah, you can hear it.
No wonder you knew the sound so well. That's what was keeping you up at night.
Oh no, that sound was engraved in my head forever.
I mean, it's yeah.
As
it's
a
great.
child, forever.
Yeah.
Do we have any things you guys would like to discuss?
No, I think that's it
I
really.
mean, it's good. We've gone on for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think it was a really productive conversation, personally.
Yeah.
I'd like to thank you both, obviously, for having me. It's been a while. I'd definitely like to pop along to the next one if I can. If not, the one after that. We'll see what happens. But thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
Nice. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
It's been I've done a lot of talking, but I feel like I got a rhythm going. And I think
Yeah.
but it's good. Been a great conversation. So thank you. For
Oh no, thank you for being here. Thank
Yes.
you, Egerton, as well, for
Thank
being
you.
here.
Yes.
Thank you.
Well, I'll leave it
And
to you guys.
and thank you everyone for listening. And maybe we can do. Okay, Google, say thank you for listening to the Tech Bros podcast.
Got it. Playing the latest episode of Tech Bros podcast.
Wait, what?
002 Trent Marshall, Labour.
Oh, hell no.
No, wait, no.
No,
Okay,
no.
Google, stop. Stop.
I guess, ladies and gentlemen, we understood from this is we still got a way to go with
So,
our assisted technologies.
So our outros have not been replaced. Like the role of podcast outros has not been replaced by technology yet. So we're
Definitely.
safe for now.
For now.
For now.
For now.
Anyway,
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks everyone for listening.
Thank
and
you.
We shall see you in the next one. Bye bye.
Bye bye.